Hey guys, AmyFalzo. Today I want to make a really brief video on making the switch from iPhone or any Apple products to the Samsung S8. I myself have been a long time Apple supporter and just recently I made the switch, and there are some concerns I have about the phone, definitely. There's a lot of things I love, but there are a few things I do dislike, and I just want to make sure you're aware of these things before you make the switch over to Samsung. The first thing I want to say about the Galaxy S8, and obviously as I'm talking about this, just be aware that this applies to many Android systems. This is not limited to just the S8 or any Samsung product. It is actually the Android hardware and software. So if you think you're making the switch, these are some top tips to be aware of. The Galaxy S8 screen does not turn on when you get a notification. You will know that when you have an iPhone and you get a notification, the screen will flash up notifying you. So this is really handy if you have it lying on your desk or in front of you. This actually does not happen on the S8. Instead, the phone vibrates. It will just do a vibrate in your pocket or in your hand. And then you have to manually turn on the screen yourself and look at it, check the notifications. Of course, there is an app you can download for this. You can have notifications pop up on your screen. I'm not talking about the always on display. This is one thing that gets really confusing. The S8 has an always on display, so you can choose to have, whenever your phone is logged, a screen displaying the clock, and I think a picture or a couple of knickknacks here and there that you want to choose. It does come up, I think, notifications on that if you want it, but I don't like the always on display. I think that's just because I come from Apple. It's not something we do, so I don't have that feature on. So yeah, you can download an app from the Google Play Store. You can have notifications light up your screen. However, the thing about downloading these third-party apps is that they are a bit buggy. They don't always work, and that's something that's really quite frustrating. It's something that I really like, and something that I think that's, Samsung should have incorporated into the phone. The second thing, this is not so much a big thing, is that the clock that you've seen in all the fancy S8 ads, it's stacked on top of each other. This is actually something you cannot change. So unless you buy a theme from the store, you can't change this clock setting. The clock changes. This is actually a strange thing. When you get a notification, the clock then changes back to a regular clock style. But as soon as you clear your notifications, it'll jump right back. So that's something that I'd really like to see fixed. Just giving Samsung users a bit more option of how they want their lock screen to look without having to buy a whole new theme for the phone. A good tip I'm going to give for people who are thinking of making the switch is the lock screen options. With iPhone, you can only do a passcode or fingerprint scanner, but with Samsung, you have a lot more options. You can actually use a face scanner or an iris scanner, as well as the original fingerprint keypad, and you can also have a pattern, which is something that I really was quite jealous of when I was an Apple user. So the two main functions I use are the face scanner and the pattern. Now, this is something I definitely did not think I was going to be using, especially the face scanner. I didn't think it would work that efficiently, but guys, I want to express that Samsung have done a really good job with this, and it is really quick. Normally, I'm going to put my pattern in and the face recognition will work by the time I've even put the pattern in, so it's a lot quicker. I don't actually use the fingerprint scanner much, and I thought that was going to be my main use. As you guys know, Samsung have moved the fingerprint scanner to the back next to the camera. When you're an Apple user and you're used to holding it down with the thumb, it really does make a big difference. You've got to stretch your finger up. So these lock screen options, there are a lot of good options. I really enjoy the face scanner, and I like the pattern. However, yeah, the fingerprint scanner is a bit off, and the iris scanning, I haven't used it very much. It doesn't seem that good. It does work. It's a bit slower though, and it doesn't work in as good conditions as the face scanner. Another part of the display, which I want to talk about, the lock screen, is a lot of Apple users will know that with recent iOS updates, when you pick up your phone, the phone will turn on without having to touch any buttons. That's actually something that Samsung does not do. So once again, you'll have to be downloading a third-party app if you want this. This is basically the motion detection. So, with Apple, your phone will detect. If you picked it up, the screen will come on. You can see your notifications. It's just a bit more ease of access, makes it a bit quicker. Samsung does not have this on the S8. You have to install a third-party app. And the app I use, it is a bit buggy. It doesn't always detect when I pick up the phone. So that's also another tip for you guys. All right, my next point is I'm going to be talking about the apps. So obviously on iOS and Android, the apps do look a bit different in design. Not all of them, but a few do. So the apps themselves, like I said, are a bit different. The button layouts of the apps, a lot of the time, the things that you'll touch at the bottom, such as Twitter, home screen, that will be moved to the top now. So it's a bit more of a stretch for your hands. If you're like me and you have little hands, it's going to be a bit more work for you, I guess, than just casually strolling through your phone. A small thing as well is that if you are a big fan of Apple emojis, you lose them. Obviously, if you're switching to the S8, you cannot carry over your Apple emojis. You can download some keyboards that include Apple emojis. However, they're just a skin, when you actually press on them, obviously it's going to come up with the Android emoji. A lot of people actually like the Apple skins because then at least you know what the emoji is going to look like to an Apple user when you send them through. I noticed a lot of the Android emojis, they're not really quite accurately representative of the Apple emojis, so I'm not really sure which one I'm clicking that I want for the Apple version. So I need to go through them a couple times, like which one is the right kissy face. As you can see, there's a couple of different kissy faces. Remember that these days big apps like Facebook have their own emojis anyway. WhatsApp use Apple emojis even if you're on an Android device. So if you're really loving the Apple emojis like I did, it's not too big of a switch. It's only when you're using Android apps that they're going to come through. That's just a small tip for you. One of the biggest things is the status bar. So for the status bar, you're used to pulling it up, and then you have a bit of a simplified view. You've got things like torch, calculator, brightness, music, things like that. But on a Samsung device, you have to pull it down. I know these sound like first world problems, but I just want to make you aware before you make the switch. These are things that I looked over when I just, grabbed the new phone because of its design. Another thing is it doesn't have certain things in the status bar that we have on Apple. So it doesn't have calculator and it doesn't have clock, so you can't quickly switch to check your alarms or to do a math equation. It does make a bit of a difference. You are going to notice it. So that's another thing to be aware of. Something that's really going to bother you guys from Apple if you're switching to S8 is the volume. So the volume on the side, you're used to having a little gap in between the two volume buttons. Samsung has just one volume button and you click on the top part of it for up and the bottom part of it for down. However, there is a Bixby button just under the volume button and that has a gap between the lower part of the volume. Are you still following me? I hope you are. So this means a lot of the time you're going to be clicking the Bixby button because you're thinking that's the down for volume, but really you're just opening up Bixby. Another thing for Apple users is the silent button. So as you know, at the top of iPhones, they have a little click button that you can switch over to be either on silent or ringer, ringer or silent. And you can just quickly switch this. You don't have to take it out of your pocket. You can just put it on vibrate by making the switch. You know it's there, you know it's not going to make any noise. Samsung does not have this, and you have to turn on the phone, pull down the status bar and choose what setting you want it to be on. This is a small one, but WhatsApp, for any of you that are big WhatsApp users and you're making the switch over to the S8 from Apple, you cannot transfer your messages over. Well, you can, but it's quite difficult. There's no easy way to do it. So it's not like switching from one iPhone to a new iPhone or one Android device to a new Android device. You can't just back up your chat log and then reinstall it. The reason why is because iOS and Android, there is a way you can do it. It's a bit more techy though. I had to install a program on my computer and also on my phone, and I had to extract certain files, and I had to pay for the application as well. So that is something else. I found that a lot of these third-party apps that I'm using on Samsung to make the phone how I want it to be, I've had to pay for them. So yeah, a lot of these third-party apps I've mentioned, I've had to pay for them. Not much, a couple dollars, but it does add up. And a lot of these things that I'm paying for, I was thinking I shouldn't really have to be paying for this. The phone should be offering some of these functions just in their settings anyway, but there you go. Another thing is that the mic on the S8 is not as good as Apple mics. Apple iPhone mics are actually quite good quality. A lot of YouTubers actually use them to record their audio if they don't have a proper mic set up. And you really wouldn't know the difference in a lot of cases because it has actually very high-end audio quality. The Samsung microphone, I've noticed it doesn't sound as good. And I noticed because when I do WhatsApp voice recordings and I send them through, I usually listen to them back. It doesn't sound as good as when I was on an Apple device. My last point is that I find that because the display is quite high quality on the S8, some pictures and images take a bit more time to load. So when you first load up a picture, it'll be blurry and then it kind of adjusts to the screen. So these are just little things. I mean, overall, I really enjoy the phone and I will be using it until it breaks, essentially. Yeah, I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. I don't usually do tech videos like this, but I just thought I would make it because it's beneficial, especially at this time when this phone is brand new and a lot of people are going out and considering buying it. Yeah, I just thought this would be a bit more help for you guys. Anyway, hope you really enjoyed and I'll see you in the next video. See ya!